Hey everyone, this is Paul Garcia of ProjectSpurs.com with a video on the Spurs re-signing Keita Bates-Diop. So we're going to go through 3 key questions in this video. What kind of deal did Bates-Diop sign? What will Bates-Diop's role be on the team next season? And what moves do the Spurs still need to make? Let's go and begin. So as far as the deal that Bates-Diop signed, I want to give credit to Keith Smith of Spotrac.com. Smith reports that Bates-Diop's first year this coming season is for a fully guaranteed $1.7 million, which is the veteran minimum for Bates-Diop for this coming season. So he is getting a full guaranteed salary. Then next offseason, in the 2022-23 season, he's on a non-guaranteed contract for $1.8 million with a cutoff date of October 17th, 2022, where the Spurs need to decide if they want to keep him on the roster for next season or they can elect to waive him, and then his salary wouldn't count against their books. Now, this is interesting because the Spurs now have multiple players going into next offseason where they're going to be on non-guaranteed contracts. So if the Spurs wanted to maximize their cap space, they could basically waive a few players here and to get some open cap space. Or if they didn't want to do that, well, then they could just let those players stay on the team, and then they would get whatever those deals are for. So basically, in the case of Bates-Diop, it would be for $1.8 million. So again, that's the kind of deal that Bates-Diop got. Our next question is, what will Bates-Diop's role be on the team? So here, it's not really a lineup projection of what I see. It's just more so where I see visually on the court, and also using some data of where the players normally play. So at the 1, you have DeJounte Murray and Trey Jones. At the 2, you have Derek White, Lonnie Walker IV, Bryn Forbes, and Josh Primo. Now, I know Primo played a lot of point guard in summer league, so maybe he gets slotted there at the 1. At the 3, we have Keldon Johnson, Devin Vassell. There's Bates-Diop, and then we have Joe Wieskamp, the two-way player, the rookie who signed a 2-way contract, should I say. So right there, it's key there. I see Bates-Diop behind, if we're talking just specifically small forward to the 3, I see him behind Keldon and Devin Vassell. He has been able to play the 4, though, as well, so he plays a little bit of 3-4, Bates-Diop. At the 4, you have Doug McDermott, Lucas Šimanić, and Zach Collins, who's going to probably open up the season on the injured list. And then at the 5, you have Jakob Poeltl, Drew Eubanks, and Jock Landale. So again, right now I don't know how Coach Pop and the staff are going to create the lineup, but right now I do see Bates-Diop kind of in that third string kind of lineup, not necessarily a starter, not necessarily a player right on the second unit, but in the event that somebody gets hurt or somebody has to miss a few games, I could see Bates-Diop being in there, or a specific matchup. Maybe there's a matchup Coach Pop wants to have him play to defend a certain player. Well, then I could see him getting minutes either at the 3 or the 4. So again, that's kind of where I see him right now in terms of his role on the team. 2 players not mentioned on here, but to keep an eye on, are al-Farouq Aminu and Thaddeus Young. And the reason why I didn't put them quite yet on this chart is because we got to kind of see what happens with them, whether or not they make it to the first day of the regular season still being on the team. And the reason why is because there's been reports that teams are looking to trade for Thaddeus Young, and then in the case of Aminu, maybe the Spurs try to either waive him or buy him out before the regular season begins. So again, those 2 players would be added to this table here if if they're still on the roster going into the opening night of the season. Lastly, our last question is, what moves do the Spurs still need to make? So we know that with Bates-Diop signing a fully guaranteed deal for this coming season, the Spurs now have 17 players on guaranteed contracts. Right now, they would need to basically waive or trade 2 players before October 18th. That's the date where the NBA sets, where you have to have your roster down to 15 players on guaranteed contracts and 2 players on 2-way contracts. So again, that's gonna be an interesting day to watch. Is October 18th? Who gets traded, who either gets traded or waived. From now until that deadline of October 18th. Now on this chart, on this page, should I say, I have 4 teams to keep an eye on, and this is the Boston Celtics, the New Orleans Pelicans, the Oklahoma City Thunder, and the Orlando Magic. The reason why I have these 4 teams on this page is because we've seen that Thaddeus Young's name has been mentioned in trade rumors. Now I know it's been the Phoenix Suns and the Cleveland Cavaliers have been linked to have interest in Young. The problem, though, is that if those teams traded for Thaddeus Young, well, then the Spurs would have to take back additional contracts to make the salaries work. And that becomes an issue because then the Spurs are kind of right back in the same position where they started, where they're having to either waive a player or trade a player, that kind of situation. Now, these 4 teams on this page are interesting because they all have enough room to absorb Thaddeus Young's contract, his $14 million contract. And the way they do this is the Celtics, the Pelicans, and the Magic all have large enough trade exceptions to absorb Young's deal. The Thunder could open up cap space. Now, there's a problem there too. We have to look at some context. Do the Celtics want to go into the luxury tax to bring in Thaddeus Young? Do the Pelicans want to go into the luxury tax to bring in Thaddeus Young? And then in the case of the Magic, do they want to add Thaddeus Young, considering they're very much like the Spurs, where they're trying to get minutes for their young players and they're more so in that developmental mode? And then kind of that's the same question for the Thunder. Why are they helping out the Spurs to take in a contract who they're going to probably have to either move or try to waive? And basically the Spurs will probably have to give up assets to send Young to OKC. Whereas the other three teams, if they were okay with adding Young, well, then they could probably send the Spurs back a pick or two without having to send back players. So again, this is just a quick update on the Spurs re-signing Keita Bates-Diop and just kind of where things stand with this team and some of the moves that they have to make in the future. So for Project Spurs, I am Paul Garcia.